Welcome to the second episode of In Pursuit of. My guest today is Bec Hac from
Hi.
Los Angeles, California.
Thanks for having me on the show, Gerard.
No
So
problem.
happy.
Uh, Beck is an old friend and now working animator in LA.
Can you
no,
believe
it's
it?
yeah, no, it's really sick. Like, and that actually leads me to the first thing I wanted to ask you, which is I feel like for a lot of people, especially introverted people, the lockdown has been really productive for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the statement I'm
That's
supposed to
the,
work
that's
off?
the statement that you should
Yeah.
work off of.
No, totally. It has been really productive, and it's kind of funny because I was kind of living lockdown lifestyle anyway, like before this all happened. Like
Yeah.
I have, you know, any like head banging against the wall moments I have are just like it has to do with the external like state of like what I'm absorbing, what I see happening, like how wrong this all feels. But internally, I feel pretty good. I mean, I miss my friends, but it also is really nice to just like get out of because I felt like right before this happened, I had started working full time and or like getting like settled in a stable job because
Yeah.
otherwise I'd kind of jumping around with like between freelance and like retail jobs and just like kind of all being up in the air. So work was like this really big focus because when you don't getting the thing that you want doesn't change your feelings. It just
Yeah.
like offers you, it just like expands your perspective and you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of like both like whittling it down and also being like, wait, what? No, like, fuck this, man. But when you don't have the thing, like being told getting the thing that you want isn't going to change anything, it means nothing. It
Yeah.
means nothing. Like, I know that. I know. But I need to have this experience as like a proof to myself. So leading up to that, I was finally getting into a point where I was like stable after just like working and just like doing such random shit or like working hard
Yeah.
for so long. And then like I was immediately falling into this kind of like working at my job, go home, spend all my money on dumb shit online.
Yo,
And
like
I
like
was
the,
like,
the true the true American lifestyle.
totally. I was like fully like consumerist. And I mean, I still engage in it, but
Everybody
I
does.
yeah, I try to be more critical of it because I was really just like, this like this dissatisfaction doesn't go away, does it? But I can buy beautiful earrings.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean
with all the
that's
money
still
I took
like
off for my life.
that's still kind of like that's kind of sick though. I feel like going into this was having an opposite experience. Like I had a stable job, but it was like it was shit, dude. It was complete garbo. like
Where were you working?
I worked at this place called The Bean on Third Avenue,
Ew. That sounds
and
like a weird like sex move
no, no,
or
it's
like a cocktail with like
it's like
weird
a
fluids.
level up from like it's like kind of like Dunkin' Donuts. Like it was like coffee. Like I was hired as a barista, but like it's like
Oh, the
fast. It's
bean, the
fast.
coffee bean,
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
coffee.
Like that, like the coffee bean. And like it was whatever. I met a lot of really sick people though at the Bean.
Yeah,
Like New York's really cool about that. Like there's so many people here that are just so interesting to talk to, and then you're
yeah,
just forced to work next to them, and they're cool. Like the yeah, but it was all right. But it didn't pay that well. Minimum wage shit. It was whatever.
yeah.
But now I've been chilling in quarantine, and like I'm actually moving more away from having a good stable income is like really really nice, obviously, but like it's more about like what you choose, like the time. My time I feel like is more valuable, and like I feel like I waste time harder, but I also feel like I use time better.
You waste time harder.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
waste time
yeah.
to just like
Like
really
because
fully like I don't give a fuck.
because like right now like money is kind of like on freeze for like most people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Is New York doing any sort of like rent moratoriums or
ah
anything like
nah,
Nah, nah,
Of course not. Of course
this is
not.
America.
They did it for houses, not apartment.
Of course they didn't.
Like the
They
state,
did it
the,
for the property owners, but not the property renters.
um, but
Boo.
our our company was like, you can send. There'll be no late fee for the first 15 days.
Oh, thanks.
And we were like,
Yeah, cool. So they never had any intention of fully like shutting the country down. I think I got too cocky because in California, it was like, I think back in March, like mid March, they were like, hey, shut down, like shelter in place, keep it easy. And things, it's starting to open up a little bit.
yeah,
People are still generally wearing their masks, but I feel so naive to have imagined that America would ever have gone into. I mean, what? We did it for like 3 weeks, and then they were like, okay, well, we don't want to pay people anything
dude, we did
anymore,
it for
so
three
time to get back
weeks,
to work.
and
Like,
like legit people were like throwing temper tantrums outside their state capitol buildings.
no, totally, like bringing fucking assault rifles, and then I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like the left needs to arm themselves because it's like proven that police officers don't take violent action against protesters if the protesters are armed.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, and this like I feel like the left would
they're
kind of
vilifying it all the time.
yeah,
It's
and it's
like the
like
one thing
trying
the right really gets right.
well yeah, because like this is America. Like I mean, as we said in the warm up,
Yo,
like there's mass psychosis, especially among white people. So, but it's also just like a massive class psychosis that
yes,
that
and,
there's not like our labor union
and I think
is so neutered.
that's the thing that's gonna be more accessible at the beginning of like people like rising their consciousness. Is
Yeah.
the class one is really accessible for a lot of
The
people.
class one is huge. I
It's
was watching,
physical, like
it's, yeah, and it affects all of us, and it affects a lot of us. I was reading this, or no, I was watching this interview with this organizer in Detroit, I believe, and she had gone to this, like, kind of like liberal, like, organizing meeting, like, kind of put on by a university, and they asked them at the beginning to divide themselves, whether they thought like what was the most meaningful
mm,
within society, if it was race, if it was gender, or if it was class, or like what they should focus on for the as like the most immediate thing. I mean, not that these things can really like be or can or like should be quantified in that way against each other, but just like just so everybody could kind of have a starting point. And the organizer, she's like, I saw some people go to gender, I saw people go to race, but I went to class
mm.
because when we organize with class, like suddenly it's all of us. Like
Yeah.
you get a much bigger
It's
group.
it's a very broad brushstroke.
Exactly. Like we're all like and we're like
It hits
all
everybody at a certain point because
yeah.
like that is literally and like it's kind of stupid that that's the thing that like probably every American can actually relate to is like not having enough money to do something they want to do or need to do.
Yeah, yeah, and if you're yeah, exactly. And if you like don't have money, it's basically like, okay, fuck you. Like you can't go to the doc like if you're poor, die. Like that's essentially like what America is based on.
Yeah,
Like
it's like a
it,
wild game, video
yeah,
game.
it's like the meat grinder and I think about that, getting to the topic of truth and like perception and like what we see, I think also a lot about with like mass media and especially like kind of consumables like TV shows, movies, that kind of thing. It's like you're gonna see a lot more of like identity politics stuff because it is kind of inherently capitalistic. Um, and I'm not saying that as like a criticism because everything that emerges like from this society, every piece of media, everything is kind of inherently capitalistic because it encourages you to consume and
Yeah.
to be like and to be preoccupied with like representations of things, um, like like representations of capitalism that are more diverse. Um, I'm not a person of color. I can't like say like that's a good thing or bad thing. Like these things are meaningful to different people and like have different power.
Yeah.
But you will never see mass media or the powers that be talk about class because that threatens, you know, they will not promote something that threatens their own interests.
Or if
Um,
they, if what I notice as a student of the television in my young years is
yeah,
is
the
is
film major.
uh if and just watching. I watched, honestly, as a child, I watched too much television.
Yeah, you think so?
Fried my brain. Too much TV and too much gameplay for real. Like too much computer.
Sontag was right.
You just like you can just identify the patterns, and if they talk about class, it's always gonna be like class comparison.
Yeah.
Like it's never gonna be people who are different but on the same level. It's like people who are different and there's like the different level of like what's going on between that.
Yeah, or like the idea of like the innocuous billionaire,
Yeah.
or like, I think that's like so evil. Like you see it in Disney all the time, like good rich people. I'm like,
Also,
hmm.
bringing it back to what you said about the like identity politic focus thing, like yeah, you can see it becoming more prevalent in the media, and like people already like question like how genuine it is, because
Oh, totally.
like what you said, inherently capitalistic is like trying to really make a quick buck on something that like I think people should actually take the time to like sit down and like try and like figure out like why that specific type of like culture and language like became so prevalent in the States as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, totally. And especially because it really brings up the representation versus the material reality. It's like I saw that article that was like, oh, this Asian woman screenwriter for Crazy Rich Asians made less than her white male coworker. And I was like, yeah, that's what happens. Like that's what this if like you're focusing on like just like kind of the result, the product,
Yeah.
rather than the production.
Yeah.
It's like that's what's
I mean,
that's what's happening.
you can see that in like every, yeah, exactly, yeah, everywhere. You can see that in like every layer of like business, and like every layer of in like food. Where does our food come from? It comes from people who
Yeah.
get grossly underpaid to do
Yeah.
like ridiculously hard labor. Clothes. Where does our clothes come from?
Well,
Same
it's
same
market.
situation.
It's like so yeah, totally. It's like the whole Everlane thing too, where it's like their whole thing is like ethical transparency, but then when you look at where their clothes are made, it's like still the same slave labor factories in Vietnam.
But they're just
Um,
honest about it.
yeah, they're just like, hey, yeah, we're using the factory, so what?
I
And
mean,
it's like, and people don't even care about that anyway. Like people are still buying Nike. Like, they don't give a shit.
I know, but
I don't think anyone gives a shit.
it's I don't think anybody does. I mean, the people, like, it seems like even over like everybody loves Nike. That's the crazy thing.
I don't get it. I
It,
don't. Well, I don't
it's
like. I'm
like
not a sports person.
globally,
I don't move. Yeah.
everybody knows what Nike's doing. Everybody knows what Apple's
Yeah.
doing, but nobody
Yeah.
gives a fuck.
Yeah. Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit. We're just
It's
all,
just,
we're all okay with it because it's sick at the same
yeah.
time.
It's like this is cool, and this helps me build my ego in the
Yeah.
term of like building my own perception of myself as like a successful person within the system.
Yes.
Um, and it's also, but it also is like really fucked up that like the responsibility is put on the consumer. That like, oh, you just have to like, you have to source it. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's a phone that's ethically made. I just don't think that's something
Well,
that
no,
exists.
I mean, just break it down. The sole fact that it needs this fucking crazy mineral coltan to power it,
Oh yeah, what
and
the
it's
fuck?
only it's like it's a very small amount of coltan in the world, and
And you
it's
need
a
like
very
little chocolate
specific,
hands
yeah, to
to
go,
like mine it.
yeah, 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 like I don't know. It's
Yeah,
that's a, we don't like, that's money though. That's the money, the issue. The money is the issue at the root
yeah,
of it. And like going back to the building of the ego thing, that's very true. And you notice the people who are more like ahead of the curve and the ones that are actually like making the money, uh, they don't like really flash the same like products that they sell. Like most of them dress like very simply. Like
yeah, totally.
every time I see Mark Zuckerberg, he's in like a light blue T-shirt
Yeah.
and like shitty jeans. You know what
Or
I mean?
like Jeff Bezos. Like
Same thing.
I can't even think about what he wears. It's like maybe a jacket, like maybe, like I just see his bald head and like sweating.
Elon Musk
Uh,
wears like the Target NASA T-shirt.
Dude, he does. Ugh. It was so funny.
Like You know?
Alex was telling me that everyone in Montreal hates Grimes because she's like not good, but somehow
Whatever.
balanced. Quick
Get
aside. Close
get
that.
that bag, Grimes.
Ew, she
Grimes is going to
no,
Mars. She's gonna
not
fuck off the planet, and she's not gonna come back.
no, he's gonna leave her. He's gonna go to
You think
Mars and be
so?
like, bye, babe. Like, he
He's
has like 6 other kids.
That's true. He's taking the kid with him though, and Grimes will be left on Earth. That sucks.
It sucks.
Poor
Sorry,
Grimes.
girl.
um, yeah, media's crazy. We will make a really quick side stop. It's something that I learned recently is that the OSS, which is the precursor to the CIA, has been inside major television studios in Hollywood since like the beginning of that shit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you literally can't represent the United States military in a film or TV show unless you basically get like their media personnel from the Department of Defense to be like,
Something.
mm,
One of the
you gotta put
desks.
in, make the tank look extra sexy or something
Yeah.
like that. Or like the brown people being bombed, don't show them, okay? Just show the bad guy.
Just
Like,
show
yeah,
just show the explosion.
yeah, just show the explosion. Explosions are cool. Like, you know. Um,
But they also
yeah,
incentivize it because they'll fund a lot of things. They'll give people money to make the movies that they want to make. And they'll
totally.
give them the props and they'll give them like the trucks and the jeeps and shit because they just
Oh,
have we
totally.
have so much of it.
They have so much because they spend billions of dollars. Like, they better have some fucking tanks. Like,
And like
give me a tank. Yeah, and I've noticed actually this weird bend in new sci-fi that's so disappointing is it has this like really militaristic thing, and that's not a new thing. I mean, you see Robert Heinlein with Starship Troopers, and we
yeah,
get
yeah.
this kind of like fascist science fiction, science fascism.
Yeah.
I don't know, and like fascism does kind of have this like I think a lot of futurism in science
Oh,
fiction
yeah.
does totally has
Big fat
yeah,
crossover.
big, yeah, totally. And because it's like anything, and even you see conversations now where it's like transhumanism, and it's like that is based out of eugenics,
Yeah.
like that, the idea that you can engineer a better human being,
The perfect human being.
the perfect human being. Yeah, exactly. And it's like who's going to be discluded from your experience?
There's no such thing. That's the thing that I disagree with the most of that particular philosophy is that
Just the hubris.
it can't exist.
Yeah, totally. It's
It
like
can't
just let
exist.
the AIs take over.
Right,
And
that's the closest thing. Like transhumanism literally means that the AI is now the dominant like
yeah,
thinking path on the planet, you know what I mean?
it's like we already built like a better objectively, but nothing is objective. Like human being than human beings. And it's just like a little microchip, and
Yep.
they don't even need language.
Nope.
Like I love the two AIs that talk to each other. And
So
at first they start like having a regular conversation, like, "Hi, how are you?" And it's like, "Hi, how are you? I'm good." And then they very quickly descend into just being like at each other, but like there's just enough variation, and there's like just the amount of like impression of syntax that it's
mm-mm.
like they're having a conversation, like they don't need like words, and I think that's like fascinating.
Computer learning is so like it's insane the way that the thing learns. Like I think they'd had like the newest Google's like the newest chess bot that they made learned the entire game in like 8 hours or something. Like it played
Like every
every
possible move you
possible
could
move that
ever
it could
make.
play in 8 hours, and then it beat all the other chess robots that have been around for like 5 to 10 years.
The robots are beating each other.
Yeah,
Like,
there's like different engines. Like Google built a specific chess engine to compete against the ones that had already existed as the top chess engines.
what's like the point of the chess robot? Like, do you know about? I mean, you like chess. Like, do you know
I
the
mean,
chess
I
robot?
think it's from straight from hell, in, in terms of And
It's a demon.
I think the thing that makes chess really cool is that like humans were the ones that were supposed to play it,
Yeah.
and it's like very like artistic and like our brains can't fathom how many different possibilities there are, and like no
So
one person can actually know all the different combinations.
it's so critical.
And
Like it's this master class in like critical thinking
yeah,
uh, when it comes to just strategy, like just pure
and like the
type
game itself is
strategy.
like simple, but it's not. It's really weird. It's a very
Yeah.
I'm still really bad at it, but like it's something that like when you play it and you win, you're like, wow, I really just fucking like I out thank him. Like I like my intellect has bested over this one random person from Chile today.
Is it because it's like a game with no element of luck whatsoever?
Yeah, and there is a game of like mostly consequence. It's like cause and effect. It's a game.
Whoa.
There's no such. I mean, luck. You could get lucky. The luck factor is like if your opponent like plays like shit or like misses a
They're
move,
stupid. Yeah.
or they like miss a move, like
Today's your lucky day.
like they miscalculate. But like in the parameters of the game itself, there is no random aspect.
There's no random
Everything is
chance.
very set. Like there is a
Yeah.
set amount of moves you can make, but like we can't memorize how many.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Is
So
it, the figures about for me personally, the thing about chess I like the most are the players, the ones who are really good, because
I love chess players. I love like poker players too, like Poker Player magazine.
they're
They
like the
all look
chaotic
like
evil though of that.
yeah. They have all these like crazy sunglasses and they're like with the cards
Dude, they're
and they're
professional
fake tan.
liars. They're liars. They lie for
Yeah,
their money.
and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they're the best at it. It's sick.
well, yeah, because it's like there's not this like weird. I feel like things like that, like old world media, in that sense, like televised poker tournaments, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, there's none of this like neo mass media like kind of attempt at like impressionism or like they don't these aren't like YouTubers. These aren't like
No, yeah.
media personalities.
No,
They're just
they're
like people
living, breathing
with
that
huge
lifestyle.
egos.
Yeah.
Like and there's the aspect of performance.
Yeah.
But it's not like kind of this super constructed thing. It's like professional bowlers. Like they're just like
Dude, any
they're like
type of athlete,
yeah,
sports
I'm the
sports is the
man.
same way. Like chess in sport is the same thing. Chess is a
Yeah.
sport basically.
Oh totally.
And like did you watch the Michael Jordan documentary?
Alex was watching it and so I
Dude,
heard a bit of it in
you
the
it,
background.
it's bigger than basketball, trust me.
Really.
It's worth it, dude. Like
He gave me like the updates. He would like tell me like
watch
interesting
it, dude.
parts.
You need to listen to Michael.
Really.
Yeah.
He seems like super hardcore competitive, like to the
Yes.
point where everything is
Yes.
defined by this like need to be the best.
But
And
also the public fueled that because he became the biggest person in the world.
my middle name is Jordan after Michael Jordan. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, and
Yeah.
proves my point. It proves my point.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Like
is to think about what type of person has that type of pressure on them and then still performs as the best person of all time in any, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like it's crazy, exceptional, and the film's cool because it gets a lot of people's different perspectives. They interview all the players and coaches and stuff.
Oh wow.
I
Yeah, I'll
recommend
have to
it. If you want
I'll
to
have to
learn
check
about
it
a
out.
champion, I recommend it.
A champion. I like winners.
Everybody does. But he also
America loves
touches
some winners.
people. Also, once you win too much, they love tearing you down.
Yeah, I heard about the gambling thing
It
and the
wasn't
thing
even.
with his
Yeah.
dad. That was really heartbreaking. Like because it's like when you get to that position, you become a target. Like you're the super focus of everyone's attention. I remember there was this quote at the beginning of a book back when I worked at Sector in Chicago.
Mm.
Um, there was a quote at the beginning from Plato, The Republic, and he was talking about the souls of like all these famous people in Greek mythology, and kind of there was this like big thing where they all had to basically choose their next lives.
Hmm.
And there was this great conundrum, and everyone was like running around trying to find some badass like hero or whatever. And then it said at the end that the last person to choose was Odysseus, who had remembered the trials from his last life. And because of that, he had spent his time, a long time, looking around for the life of a private and obscure man.
Hmm.
And he said if he had been the first to choose, that was the one he would have picked. And
But that's only knowing what he knew on the other side, because flip
yeah, then we get back to the idea of like
flip side to Odysseus, he never would have reached that conclusion if he never reached the top of the mountain.
exactly, like you need to climb. Like you can be told. It's like we said before. Like you can be told getting what you want is not going to change anything, or it's just going to bring its own problems. Like whatever you get, there you are.
Yep.
Like wherever you go, there you are. But you need the thing that changes is the process of finding that and discovering it, because you don't change, but your perspective does, or your realm of experience is affected. And if it does not change you immediately, it will change your decisions after that, even if you end up just going back to the life you lived before. Um,
But
yeah.
there's no going back in the media age, though. Once people know stuff, dude, they know it forever. I swear to God.
I read this book called So You've Been Publicly Shamed, because I was really interested in public
Yeah,
shamings
yeah, yeah.
this time. It was kind of like kind of pop nonfiction. Like he kind of, the author John Ronson kind of rambled a bit, but he did bring up a really interesting point about responses to shame.
Hmm.
Um, and how shaming is affected by your class, by your gender, by your race, by your kind of general position in society. But also, it seems like the people who recovered were the people who were just like, fuck you.
I mean, yeah. If you just move past the shame, like if you're like, yo, I actually don't give a shit about what you think about me,
Yeah, where
and
it's
like
like,
that,
really?
but that's
Really?
so
You
hard.
wanna
It's
come at me
so
for
hard.
this?
It's so hard. Anybody who can actually do that and like truly not care about what outside perspective
It's like
thinks about.
so hardcore. It's so I can't even imagine that, because like so much of, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of people, like so much of how we act is dictated by shame,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
by like shame avoidance. And it's like, what is the origin of this? It all goes back to the ego. Like it all goes back to, just like protecting the conception, your own perception of yourself. Like I'm a good person, so everything I do is inherently good. And
Yeah.
then like in the court of public opinion, you could be, because I've been thinking about it with like the Central Park dog asshole
Yeah, yeah.
woman. Like, because I'm like, well, she kind of like, this was somebody who was weaponizing violence against a black man, like basically just for, politely saying like, hey, can you leash your dog?
In the area, just a bird sanctuary.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and obviously she had racial consciousness because she was able to weaponize it.
Dude, yeah.
Um,
Okay, when stuff like this happens, do you read Facebook comments?
I don't go on Facebook.
Word.
Yeah, I don't. I read Twitter, which is probably worse.
I
Um,
agree with you. I agree with you.
yeah, Twitter's so horrible.
I feel like
I can't
Facebook, you get really the like everyman's comments.
totally. You get just like
You
you get
get
like the middle class.
you get
Like,
everything. You literally get like every side of the story. And
I,
like
d- I do feel that with Facebook. Like I feel like it's just because it's like who you follow is dictated by people you know in real life.
so
So
when
it's like
something explodes like that and every pocket is like sharing it for different reasons, once like
mhm.
the main page, it gets like this weird like amalgamation of just like fighting and
Oh,
so many different opinions. But in most, what I've read about that particular video is that people were really surprised how fast like her tone changed when she actually made the call.
totally, yeah. She like went from being like, "Leave me alone, get away from me," to being like, "This African American man is threatening my life."
She
Like,
went
and I was
aggressive
like,
to baby really fast.
Totally. It's absolutely like the weaponizing of her fragility, which is like a classic white woman move.
But then she
Uh,
got mega shamed. She got like absolutely smashed. Like she lost her
yeah, she had
job.
to give up her
Everybody fucking
dog. She
hates
got
her.
fired. But like, and that's like another interesting thing because people were celebrating that she got fired from her job, and I'm like, yeah, totally, whatever. But these things happen
Yeah,
when
yeah. When
you're
I
off. Like,
personally,
I don't.
I'll go on the record. I say good.
Yeah. But like if you look at the place that she worked, it was basically like a billionaire hedge fund. So it's like, cool,
Yeah.
one racist person was fired from this basically huge taint on society, like as it continues to function under the pretense that it is operating morally. And I'm not saying it was bad that she got fired. I say good, she sucks. Like, but just like it's like that part of the analysis was totally missed, like because yeah, people like her are the ones who are like contributing to like like the money dissolution out
Oh
of
yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
middle class. So
Yeah.
it's like something much larger than just that. It's like I don't know if it's just like in New York, like I don't know, I think it's interesting to look at it if within the context of like specifically New York and like where people are working and like what their roles are and like what they do both within their job and outside their job, because I bet everybody who works at that place should be fired and that place should be like liquidated.
That I think is you never know. I guess like but like that when you get into like the terms of like billions of dollars, like billions of a $1 billion hedge fund, like that to me personally is such an unfathomable amount of money and power.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine what it feels like making 50 grand a year. Like,
Yeah.
my quality of life would be so vastly different. It would be like so, like, I could do so many things. Well, I can't do anything anymore because of the Roni, but
Yeah, dude.
and the fact that I live a higher, like, I make like, what, like 30 grand a year, if
That's not
that.
hey, let's that's not bad.
I know, no,
We
it's like,
live
and the
it.
fact that I'm like stressed about money, like probably 70 to 90% of the time, depending on how recently I got paid. And and then I think about how I was living, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago when I was
Mm.
making less money, and I was like, that was fine. I mean, like I was stressed about money, so it's just like these things make such an incremental difference, but then they also like the internal perception of it like doesn't change. Like everyone's still just like stressed about money because the equality is so severe. Like,
Yeah.
and this, yeah,
Gotta have it, need it, want it.
she's got to have it. She's shopping.
uh dude, did you see uh Twitter like put the little fact check thing on Donald Trump's tweets, like two of his tweets, and now
Ew.
they're like make sure you check your facts, and he got like really pissed off about it, and so he wrote some like some like legislation that like I don't actually know what it's gonna be. Like I can't find the thing he wrote at all. You know what I mean? It's just like all these different
Yeah,
like
I can't find
news
it anywhere.
articles, like just
I can't find
chirping
what he
about it,
said.
dude. Like they don't actually say what it is or what it means. They're just like speculation on this. Like it means this for businesses. Like does
Totally. Yeah.
like who gives a fuck what Twitter like? They're already so powerful. It's like something like that like isn't actually gonna change how
I,
they
I,
operate. Like
I fully agree. And I don't think them trying to manage Donald Trump's output is can be managed or is in any way affected by being like, hey, make sure to check your facts, because it's like,
where am I supposed to?
well, and it's like that's not part of his appeal. Like that's not, people know that he's a bullshitter. Like I think like people like within their subconscious mind like don't really believe. It's not about like for them like the material. Like Trump is bringing jobs
Dude, it's
back.
the thing he's selling. That's what they like.
Exactly. It's like he's a performer. Like he's not a politician. Like he's kind of like I mean he's still playing into the mass illusion that is anything that can be perceived, but
Right.
also it's
It's from a
by
different
like
angle.
exactly he's like the trickster. he's like, I'm breaking through this wall of politics and I'm talking to you. Like he's
Yes.
breaking the kayfabe. And he's like, so that's his appeal. And telling his supporters, like, make sure you fact check something is just like, it's just like playing right into the hands that like there's this mass media conspiracy against him. It's like every time I see a New York Times article where it's like Trump is doing something stupid and unprecedented, and I'm like, yeah, like I like it. Like, and you keep trying to play this like old media game of like
Yeah.
accountability, and it's like that's not the game anymore. Like,
Yeah.
like
It's like they prove every single point that every single side is trying to make.
exactly, yeah, exactly. And so, and I honestly don't think that any amount of like fact checking or like moralizing can like convince people like away from like supporting Trump. Like only
No.
when it affects them personally, like materially, then it's like the illusion is broken.
Just yeah.
But because America has no class consciousness whatsoever, it's like that has failed. Like
There's too many moving parts, man. Because like people don't know what it's like to live. Like you and I don't know what it's like to live in like Louisiana per se.
yeah,
A
exactly.
completely different place in the country that I've never been to, where a ton of fucking people live.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
This country is big as fuck, and that's why I've kind of like been all for secretly, like in my heart of hearts, I'm like the United States needs to balkanize. Like we need to split up into different countries, just because like I feel like the disparities in lifestyle and
vastly different across
are
the
so
country.
different. Like I mean, I was reading that like because I'm in California, most people are wearing masks. Like I'd say about 80 to 90% of people are wearing masks. Like it's a bit alarming when I see people not wearing masks. Which kind of shows that like how normalized it is right now.
75% in New York, just a sidebar. About
Yeah,
75% of people, 3 out of 4 people I see wearing masks here.
keep it up, everybody. Stay safe. And then if you go to like our Alabama, it's like 1 in 10 people are wearing masks. It's like people just like don't give a shit.
Yeah,
And
well, that's Alabama for you. They have the.
that's Alabama.
That's the crazy thing is that like I do semi support. I guess in Alabama they have the right to do that. You know what I mean? If they want to do that.
Yeah, well, that's like the death of America. It's like
No, this is the
there's
death.
no
This is the death of Alabama.
death of Alabama. Well, it's like part of this like more massive, just like super psychotic focus on like individualism to the point where there's like no sort of ability to like community organize or even have empathy for other people.
It's
Like,
become so fragmented today. I totally agree.
yeah,
I totally agree with that. Like the individual is so important today, and like Instagram and like Facebook and everything like that. Like definitely exemplify and like amplify that idea like tenfold.
yeah, and it's like this like internalization of like I think I posted something on the Gram yesterday where it's like how do I turn myself into a product so I can consume myself like that kind like it's kind of like it's like what you mentioned before is like everyone sees themselves as the hero of their own movies
Yeah.
and everyone sees themselves as a product that they can buy themselves into being.
And sell to other people.
Yeah, and that's the big one. And sell to other people to get some sort of standing in society or to get some sort of idea of self worth. Um,
And like even
and
if you don't want to and are aware, you're still forced into the game at some capacity because like to just completely drop off the grid is like incredibly difficult.
like respect. And that just shows like how completely disoriented we are from like basic survival skills. Like, I mean, I feel like most of
Too
our economy,
comfortable these
yeah,
days.
I feel like most of our economy is just built on hypotheticals and these jobs that may or may not actually produce anything. Like,
The
how is how
insurance
important?
industry.
Yeah, like it's basically just like fucking people for fun. Like that's the whole insurance industry. Like nobody benefits except the insurance industry. And then they have their like little like class cooked shills come out of the woodwork who are just like, well, doctors would make less money. And it's like this doctor who makes like $5 billion a year. No, doctors don't make that much.
Five
Like
billion, you know, 200,000, three hundred thousand
700.
dollars,
Yeah,
seven hundred thousand
200,000.
dollars. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
A mil.
it's like
That's still like an
billionaires.
insane amount.
A cool meal.
Yeah, it's still an insane amount.
Yeah.
It's cool. That'd be cool to have $1 million.
A cool $1 million. What would you do for $1 million? Real quick.
What would I do for $1 million?
Yeah.
As little as possible.
I
For real.
just chill.
For real. As little as possible.
I'll just lay here, man.
But I'm working on that, you know. What am I gonna do for like $40,000? You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like
I'll conceptualize $1 million when I get to another bracket. I can't even do it yet.
We gotta work our way up. Be like, do I really need $1 million? Like that's the question no one asks.
I don't think I do.
No, me neither. I don't.
But 70 is like the top amount that I feel like I could be good with.
I can't even imagine. I feel like
It'd be dope.
40 is like really good.
70 would be cool, man. That'd be sick.
Yeah, man.
That's the tier I would stop at. Like I wouldn't try harder than that.
Yeah, it's like it's not worth it at that point. I think that is like the cutoff where they're like, yeah, if you make more than that, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Like in your quality of life.
Unless you just want to start growing capital like crazy.
I don't want to contribute to that. More than I like already do. Like,
how do you feel about the Bitcoiners?
Oh, I was doing research on Bitcoin a few months ago. I still don't really get it. I mean, like respect for like the people who like jumped on it early on. I just don't. Cryptocurrency doesn't have the same protections as like other stocks do. So you really got to be like a true cowboy out on the digital range.
Yeah.
To do that.
Very chaotic way to make money.
I remember like a few years ago, I would hear about Bitcoiners and I'd have this like instinctive media trained response of being like, ugh. And now I'm trying to like move away from media trained responses.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, this doesn't serve anybody or this doesn't serve me.
What do you mean by media trained responses?
Just like when you kind of like seeing a Bitcoin, like seeing someone who's into, I don't know, let's say Jordan Peterson or whatever. And I feel like there's this kind of like subset of Twitter or like very online media who are just like, ugh, like you don't read anything about what it's about. You don't like do any sort of individual or critical research, that you come to this like very solidified worldview that cannot be challenged and cannot be changed. And when it is challenged, you take it as like a personal affront.
Yeah.
Because it's not an actual critical opinion you have. It's a trait almost that you take on so that you get approval, like by like the mass whatever is happening.
Yeah.
It's not cool to like Jordan Peterson. You also see this on the right with like social justice warriors shit. Like I doubt that any of those guys have actually done any sort of critical thinking on race or class or gender and are just like wanting to stay within like a convenient position. In their like kind of parasocial whatevers.
Yeah, it just kind of seems like they don't get out much.
Yeah, it's just like it's just brain rot. It's like you're literally just being like fed whatever shit is shoveled into your mouth, and then you're just like, yes, thank you, because like there's no like sort of like critical thinking. I think like in this super like we live in such like a super media saturated age, and we take the media or any sort of we take the illusion as the thing rather than the thing itself. It's like the representation is more sacred than the thing represented. It's like the kind of
because the actual thing is so few people actually get the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, or it's just like you don't have time, or it's like I can kind of just like, what's the minimum I can get by with? Like, that's why, like, anytime I see anyone on Twitter who's like, I'm a communist, and I'm like, are you?
Also, all those people that say that would be, like, the first people that the communists would be like, ew.
No, totally. And it's like, It's like you kind of are able to, it's just like this super surface level. That's what I'm like getting to the point where I'm just like not trusting anyone's ideologies anymore. Like I need to hear specific.
Max Stirner had you guys said make everything your own decision, man. It's
Yeah, like I have to hear exactly what's coming out of your mouth. I'm not gonna listen to like any of these self definitions and like I don't know, like Twitter anarchists or whatever. And I'm like
dude.
very sympathetic to anarchy, but anarchism. But I'm not gonna be like I'm an anarchist just because like I read some essays. Like I feel like that's
You
like a
have to kind
very
of practice what you preach if you want to call yourself one of those.
totally. It's like this like liberal academia thing where it's like I know about this thing and that means I can self-define by this thing. Um, I don't have to organize by this thing. I don't need to act by this thing. It's just about the self-definition and that is the power. It's the ego again.
It's
It all comes back to the ego.
it does all come back to the ego.
Yeah.
Why does it always come back to the ego?
I don't know because they're all children. Because they're all like little babies
That's true.
looking at mother's breasts. Like, just like, please, God, give it to me. I need comfort. I need safety.
It's
I need.
crazy that like attachment styles develop and there seems to be like no positive attachment style. Like
I
something will
don't think.
happen to you as a child that like fucks you up in some way. No matter what it is, no matter how small of a slight it is, like the levels of severity that happens to you, you
Mhm.
always get roped with an attachment style, and it there's always some type of negative connotation for each attachment style.
I know there's the stable attachment style, and that's when it's like you have pretty healthy relationships, but that like
How
does
often
it
is that
exist?
attained? Like
I don't.
statistically,
Let me look it up. Oh no, it's called secure.
yeah, how
Secure.
often does the secure attachment style? My guess, 23%.
Whoa, that's high.
I guess maybe 17. I'm gonna change it to 17.
Okay. I agree with 17. Secure attachment style. Well, and also, can these things be trusted? Because how many people tell themselves, like, I have a secure attachment style, but everyone I know is a narcissist. Like, isn't it like, like that's like the further
Dude,
problem.
we just live in this fucking insane echo chamber of like no matter what idea you're trying to get across, like you always just run into like, is this right? Can I trust where this information is coming from? Like that's like the problem that we created for ourselves. It's like, is this going to be reputable? Like there's no way to really prove what's reputable and what's not anymore because it's just been proven that like it gets distorted. Like throughout history,
Yeah.
information was much more easily distorted. And now we're at a point where it's like you can see the distortions happening in real time,
Yeah.
but like everything has a weird lens on it, so you can't tell what's the actual like what's happening unless you see it for yourself.
Yeah, like how do you get to an understanding of truth if everything is funneled through your lens of what should be?
Yeah.
Like how much of it is just validated by like, well, I find this to be an appealing idea, so it's the right one, and the right one is the truth, or like it's good, so it's true, which I don't think any of those are, I would say, accurate.
Yeah.
um,
It's more about like what it like everything I've been like the media that I've been consuming. What like I let the media come to me based on like how I'm feeling.
yeah, the media can do the work. I'm
Like
just
but
kidding.
like
I think
but
that's the right call.
what the media has been saying to me is I've keep coming across things that are telling me to really focus on the present, and that's the only
Yes.
thing that like is actually true is
Yeah.
like the moment and the things that are directly in front of you, and then everything else is kind of an illusion until you see like get up to them.
Exactly. Like everything, like being in the present, like the true present, is like not bringing in, like there's no projection present. Like you're not bringing in, like you're not reliving kind of this past incident of yours and like over and over again, or like these traumas. There's no like concern or like anxiety because of the future,
Yeah.
because of your performance. It is like freedom, and everything that is not directly in front of you and that you don't directly hear is like an illusion. It's like a projection of the mind. And even then, that which is directly in front of you, like, can be victim to your own biases
Oh yeah.
and to your own um, concerns or your own wishes or desires from the situation. And to remove those wishes or desires and to let things be, it's kind of like a precarious position because then, like, do you do anything? Like,
Yeah,
it's
man.
like it's so much of like our culture just built on like projection and suffering because that's like
I
considered
mean,
productive and
kind of,
productive is considered good.
kind, kind of literally, it is.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm asking,
uh,
dear Miss God, what's going on?
I mean, it's hard, you know, because like I feel the best when I'm doing nothing, but like that's counterintuitive.
Why is it counterintuitive?
Because like if I do nothing, then like things get dirty, or I won't make money, or
Oh
I,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
where it's like the short term is like, ah, this feels good, but then you see the long term consequences,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
it's
just
like,
like, this is bad.
what's the balance between like actually like doing nothing and like doing a few things, but
Well,
with the same mindset of like I'm just doing nothing because this is like what it is. You know what I mean?
I've been thinking about that because with like thinking about goal, goals and productivity,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
it's like I finished that music video a few weeks ago, and then for a few days after I like had my birthday, and I just had this like meltdown, and I just got super depressed because and like that Peggy Lee song, "Is That All There Is," just like kept playing in my head like over and over again, and it was kind of like this realization that you keep coming back to, where like I was so excited working on it
Mm.
and I wanted it to get done. And then once it was done, it was very overwhelming and I was disappointed. And just like the realization again that like it's not about the product. It's about the process of creating it. Like that's what's powerful about it. And then
Yeah.
when you're in the process, you're kind of outside of time and you're outside of general like if you're like in the true creative mindset, you're just like it feels like it just kind of flows out of you,
Mm.
and you're like this vessel for something greater than yourself, and it's getting funneled through, and something is getting created.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so that's like, and that's also outside of like kind of the interpersonal like ego, because you can tell when work is created from the ego and work that's not.
Word. Do you have any idea what you're particularly channeling? I feel like every when somebody says they like are aware of what they're channeling, like you know, you always kind of raise an eyebrow at them. I'm like, are you sure you know what you're channeling, or like, are you just
do you,
making shit up?
do
Or
you think it's like naive of them to be like assuming like, yes, I know
no,
exactly who is
no,
speaking to me?
I trust some people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I do trust that there are people out there that are like getting some like kind of otherworldly information and then expressing it the way that like they know how to best as a human being. I believe that 100%.
Oh, totally. I just mean with like the assumption that you know exactly where it's coming from. Um,
Oh, like the being like or whatever
like the exact name of
the
the being.
source
Yeah.
of the information.
And the nature of the source.
Um
Maybe I just haven't thought critically enough about it because it's something that can't be like critically thought about. I'm just like, it just happens, man.
I
It
mean,
just shows
yeah,
up.
it's so and it really comes to like a gut feeling, I guess, you know? Like that's the thing
Yeah.
when you're sizing up most people is like how do you actually feel about like what are you sensing from them? And like
Yeah.
even if the person isn't getting the information directly from whatever source they're saying, but if they truly believe it and that's what they perceive, then like that's what it
Yeah.
is. You know what I mean?
No,
That's where they're
totally.
getting
Like,
their
who am
information.
I to be like,
They're pulling it out of like
I don't.
Berenstein Bears universe, whatever
I,
like
I still
doppelganger
don't. I still
Earth.
don't get that the Bernstein Bears thing.
It just people just are stupid and they thought it was something that it wasn't. It's like
Oh,
spelled a
isn't that
different
so
way.
cool?
It's spelled a different way. I don't know. Who cares? Yeah, CERN
There's
launched us into a different dimension, guys. Whoop dee doo. You know,
ooh,
I mean,
ooh.
whatever. We're here
I
now.
wonder when that happens. When that starts.
2012, 2013 range.
You think it was that early or that late? I feel like it'd be closer to like maybe I don't know, the 80s, 90s.
Hell
Very,
no.
maybe
Mad
2012 does
authentic
feel like
times.
everything since then has been pretty fucked up. So,
The 80s and the 90s were definitely like a fucked up period of time, but there was still that like magic feeling. You know what I mean? Like people still like cared.
you weren't there.
No, but like you talk to anybody who grew up in there, and they talk about how big everything felt, and like how like real everything felt, and like there has been this like disconnect. Like that's the one like really interesting thing when you actually talk to people who are older than you. Is like it's like, dude, I actually would love to know what it was like to feel like I was in the 80s. You know what I mean? Or like
Yeah.
feel like I was truly in the 90s. Like I
Yeah.
don't like what the 2010s and the 20s feel like right now, you know?
No, because like the defining characteristic of living in the 10s and the 20s is like deep capitalist nightmare,
Yep,
like
Matt.
deep capitalist tech nightmare. Like, like that seems like the defining characteristic is like negatives.
Mad
Like
tension, lots of tension.
in everything that's been kind of this like technological improvement really feels like something we didn't need. Like I wish I could go back to I don't know, like when I was in high school and before I had a phone and just like remember not feeling dependent on
Yes,
technology in that way.
yes, I agree. But that's like the whole thing that we are talking about with Michael. That's the whole thing we are talking about with Odysseus. Dude, you hit a
Oh yeah.
certain point and you look back and you're like, oh wait, the thing that I
And you're like,
had at the beginning was the right thing.
yeah, because when you first get the phone, you're like, oh my God, I can do everything. I can look at me, I exist. Like, you can do like all this shit. And then now, and once you get everything, you're like,
It's like,
actually, I don't need this.
yeah, it's the Sisyphus shit, dude. You just keep pushing different boulders up the fucking mountain, and then you
Totally.
get to the top of the mountain, and you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, and I guess getting exposed to that experience, like I don't think we would have come to the understand. There's no way we could have been able to come to a really in-depth understanding of how technology is being used right now in a very evil way if it didn't totally infect our lives. Like, because like technological criticisms have existed in literature and in whatever, like
Yeah,
basically forever.
they've been afraid of everything. You know, they were afraid of the telephone. They were afraid of the television. They were afraid of all the
Microwaves for good
microwaves.
reason.
Yeah, like everything, radio, everything. Like,
Yeah.
but then it would turn out that the smartphone was the thing that actually
Yeah.
fucked everything up. When you put the computer and the phone together, it's
It's too
too
much.
much.
It's like that's too much for our like monkey brain to handle.
Yeah,
We just keep going right back to like the serotonin receptor, like
it's like too. It's
selfie,
too.
selfie, selfie, like porn, 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 like Google, Google,
Or
Google,
even
like
just like
over and over.
checking your email all the time,
Yeah, totally. Where
scrolling
you're
through the
just like,
mindless void of fucking Instagram.
yeah, Instagram is so awful and boring now. I hate it. Like,
But it's up to the person. I regret where my account ended up.
what's wrong with it?
There's just too many fucking posts, dude. There's a period of time where I was going just brazy on Instagram, dude, just fucking crazy, just posting literally whatever the fuck I wanted to.
I
Like
remember that.
anytime I had a thought or like I was like this would be an Instagram post. Like any fucking meme, any weird image, I don't fucking matter. The caption doesn't matter. Nothing matters. How many likes is this one fucking thing gonna get?
Yeah,
And
I
like,
remember your selfies would get a lot of likes.
dude,
Uh,
everybody's fucking selfie gets a lot of likes. The
my
selfie,
selfies would get
the selfie. If you need a really big serotonin boost and you don't usually post selfies, post a selfie. I guarantee you, you'll get 75% more interaction on your fucking profile, and like
but
you'll get the big likes.
I think it's like a principle thing that I don't really post selfies anymore. Like I have to be like in a really desperate mindset to be like, give me that really cheap stuff, like like give me I don't know, just give me whatever you got, like to post a selfie. I think
Like
there's like
the
a couple.
Instagram explore page content.
Yeah, totally. Like, and also I think it's very deranged how the selfie is kind of how like the selfie is inserted into everything. Like
Yeah.
I remember I was looking at the George Floyd hashtag on the Explore page, and I would see these fucking dumbass white bitches be like, put like I don't know tape over their mouths, and they'd be like, "Justice for George Floyd," and I'm like, you are so fucking sick and depraved. Like if you think that that's the position you need to be taking right now, like is fucked. Like this like digital narcissist brain rot is like can truly be co-opted for anything, and
It definitely can. It definitely will. What can
it will be.
what can we do to break this cycle? You know what I mean? Is
Oh my god,
nootropic
log
medicine
off.
is log off? Yeah, basically that's probably the simplest solution.
No, I mean,
Log
I think
off,
it's just like,
motherfuckers.
log off, go home.
Go
Like,
outside, idiots. There's a whole world out there.
I say that.
And I say that to
Yeah,
myself
I
too.
mean,
Don't worry about it, viewers. Don't worry about it,
I say it all
computer.
the time. I'm like, I'm such a dumbass constantly.
I get
Like, I need
myself
to
trapped.
get
I stay locked in the house for no good reason.
out.
For no good reason.
We'd be quarantining.
I could ride my
I don't know.
bike and stay away from people though. You know what I mean? I could. Everybody can still go outside. Like they just
Yeah,
have to be okay with being alone or with a very small group of people outside.
that's all you need. That's all you ever need. More than groups of like four is like too
Really
much.
stressful to keep up with.
Yeah, I don't get people who have had like a big friend group
I'm
or
impressed.
have like
I'm impressed by it.
of like 8 people who always all hang out all the time,
It's
or
kind.
even a group of like 5 people who
It,
always all hang out all the time. Like the hardest I've gone with that is like three. Like there's three of us and we all hang out all the time. I've never gotten past three.
I think like 5 or 6 was my maximum when it wasn't like a party involved. But like
Yeah,
three to four is really comfortable.
yeah. I think that's like
Yeah.
the perfect like. Because anything more than that, it's like I feel like I have to manage too many interactions.
People
Like
who need to be seen outside by other people are having a really rough time, and I feel a little bit bad for them.
I think it's hilarious. I'm sorry. Like that sucks. Well, everyone's like looking really done up whenever they do go outside for like their groceries. Like
I mean, yeah, because it's the only chance that other people are gonna get to look at them. Duh.
yeah, and I've
I
been
need.
thinking also.
No, sorry. What were you saying?
No. What were you gonna say?
I lost it. I lost the thought.
It's gone into the ether. I've also been thinking about since we've been talking about representation and truth. Um, also and like the image like is the image empowering like or is the image of the self empowering? I think about this a lot with women.
No,
You don't think so?
I do not think the image. I mean, I take that back. The image of the self is only empowering if your inner self also empowers you. If you
If your inner self also empowers you, yeah.
if you are only looking for like just the image being the thing that empowers you, it's never gonna empower you.
Yeah, I find it I don't know, it's like this is also kind of why I've been very distrustful of like self-cataloged ideologies, like just because like I don't trust like I see so many people because you know me, I'm somebody very informed by feminist thought and like it's
Yes.
something I'm very concerned about and I've read about constantly and I try to look at everything through a feminist lens because I don't think anything can be inherently feminist.
Mm.
And I think that's like a big issue also that people have when they're like kind of coming to media and that I've definitely had in the past. And this is like a pretty recent development that like nothing can be inherently feminist or nothing can be like inherent, like everything is through the personal lens. And it's like we can look at it like through a feminist criticality, but we can't like assign it this immutable like quality in
Mm.
that way. Kind of the same thing as like how can we say what is empowering? And the thing that like one woman will be like, yes, I feel that's empowering. I'm like, oh my god, like we're just decorating the cage. Like it's become almost this like pathology. where it's like, um, and I think that really can only be solved by like really thinking about how you feel about it and like really like informing yourself, like to kind of answer the earlier question of like, what do we do? How do we break out of this cycle? And I think the best thing anyone can do ever is read. And if it's like something that,
Word.
and like to confront like these feelings that you have that you're afraid of confronting. Like Instagram makes me feel bad, but I'm gonna post a selfie anyway because that'll make me feel good.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, where is the origin of this? Where is the origin for the need for attention? Like, where is the origin for the need to be seen? Because you see a lot of like kind of this mixed up thing where it's like, I don't want to be perceived, and then you like post a selfie anyway, and it's like, it's this like internal dishonesty, and I think it's just like genuine like sadness and confusion that just like hasn't been worked through yet.
Definitely. I think that's very interesting that like the reading is probably actually the best thing you can do if you find yourself have just like whatever empty time
Yeah,
instead of
I
doing that, like instead of like looking to be seen by other people, like you could just kind of go through it yourself and like I don't know, it's very interesting and like I noticed at the periods of my life in which I read because I like read for a little bit and then I just stop reading completely. Like
yeah.
and just take like big breaks from like I'll read like 2 or 3 books and then just like stop reading for like a year.
Yeah, I think a lot that happens to a lot of people. I think like I don't think there's any person who like reads enough, myself included. Like
No,
I haven't
I
read any
definitely
weeks.
disagree with that. I think there are people who read a lot, dude. People
Oh, they're just off
we
of
don't
Twitter,
see
so
them.
we
We
don't see
don't see
them.
them.
We don't see them. Yeah.
We don't see them because they're reading.
Okay, yeah, let's log off. That's what we have to do is log off and read.
And like that's another thing. We only see the people that are online.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, we only see, but we don't understand what exists because we all that exists in like our visual lizard brain is just like what we see, and what we see is like truth. But we already know that's not true because nothing is true.
Dude, the Plato cave thing, I know it's a meme at this point, a philosophy meme at this point. But
It's a meme because
it's so true.
it's universal.
What a
It's very powerful.
talk about if you want to talk about a channeler, I feel like that's somebody that is profoundly human but also like receiving information from a greater source than
Plato.
yeah, or like all the greats, you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
Sappho,
totally.
Marie Antoinette,
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
Joan of Arc, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like they all had some
Because
weird divine intervention happen.
I, I love reading about Blake because he was so just like, yeah, God talks to me and I see him in everything. And I'm like, that's awesome.
That's like
And
a
he was just
lucky
like
dude.
so literal. What's up?
So that's lucky. That's a lucky way to be.
I think it's just like he just curated this mindset. I mean, I think he was obviously a naturally very brilliant person, and then being in the age that he was and having the mind that he did, like he would claim to see angels. Like I think he was totally a seer. And I would like I think I don't know. It kind of bums. I mean, I think the whole like astrology meming thing is like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's cool that it's like introducing people to, like other methodologies of self-analysis, if you can call it that, even that complicated. But I also do think it is a bit limiting because it's like you just define things by basically like it kind of comes back to the whole eco of like I'm a good person, so I do good things, and so you're like I'll be like I'm a Taurus, so that's why I'm lazy, and it's not when it's like something else is happening, or like
Yeah.
I see an analysis of relationships through astrology like disproportionately, and it's like, oh, he doesn't like me because he's a Mercury Venus or whatever like that, and it's like, no, it's just because like you don't have enough self-worth, so you're assigning that responsibility to other people to provide for you.
Yeah.
Like it's like externalizing it, and in this way that I don't think we really understand, at least most of us. um,
I mean, how many people actually understand the stars and the positions of them?
I don't know shit, man. Don't ask me. Like, I think there are like some hardcore like astrologers who are
Of
like,
course, but that's every single field. You know what I mean? Those are the people that I would
yeah,
actually listen to if they talked to me
the
about it.
professionals. Yeah, and there's this one woman on Twitter, the People's Oracle, and she does really fascinating analysis of like the planets, and she like is able to really concisely like, put them together with like material things happening in the world,
Hmm.
and like, yes, this is very interesting. Like that's the kind of stuff I like. Like that's delicious. Thank you.
I listen to anybody who dedicates their life to something.
Yeah.
You know what
What
I?
are you? What are you want to dedicate yourself to?
No idea.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. Hasn't appeared to me yet. You know what I mean?
hmm
Nothing's
Well, it's
tickled.
all part of the. It's
What?
all part of the process. Like you could look back at something. You could look back at this moment in 10 years and be like, yeah, that was just a part of the process. Like this was an essential step, and I was already going in this direction. I just wasn't aware of it because I hadn't fully manifested.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I mean, things definitely just kind of come all into like I have like very sudden realizations. I don't think I have realizations over time. It's like
mhm.
subconsciously my brain just works on whatever thing I'm working on, and then like immediately like once it's done figuring it out, like it alerts me, type
Mhm.
thing. Like I feel like I come to so many
Yeah.
stupid sudden realizations of things that I just should have known already.
I love that. It's like the synchronicity. It's like, oh, all these different thoughts I was having or these things I was absorbing, suddenly like they all make sense. And it's like, oh, it should be exciting. We shouldn't shame ourselves. Like everything is just a process.
True.
You can't know. You
I
can't
think
know
I mean it feels
everything.
good. True. Nobody ever can. It's impossible.
Yeah. We people may try to say they know everything, but everyone's just like in a different process. The journey of understanding.
And
Your
then
greatest freedom is admitting you are a fool. Like,
true. Time and
yeah,
time again. I mean, also, to be real with you, it's really fun to play the fool.
yeah. You just like be stupid. It's like yes, yes. Like yeah, because like I really tried to break out of this like using intellectualism as like a power play over other people and just like have fun, just being stupid, and because it's like the role of no shame,
Hmm.
like just like and you're free of the expectation of like performing, and it's just like you kind of go to back to like just like intuitive like stupid brain, like yeah, like playing the fool. At least
True.
that's my take on it.
I mean, I think it's so funny. You spend like the first such a large portion of your life like being such a good way, like such a natural way, and then you change, and then you want that thing back that you changed
Yeah,
from.
like
Like like every time I've like re-leveled up my mind, it's like trying to get back to like where I was when I was like 8 through like 12 years old.
I've encountered so many people who are like basically going through the same process, and I am as well. Where it's like, oh, when I was a child, this was incredibly natural and intuitive, and I was because of this shame or this trauma or this conditioning that I had experienced, I built up these things to protect myself, to protect the child's heart.
Yeah.
And then when you're able to communicate with that child's heart again, you're like, oh, all these things are just weighing me down. And it's like, you have to basically go backwards, where it's like you have to, like, pain moves backward in the body.
Yeah.
Like, you need to kind of basically move through every successive step in reverse to get back to the original and like undo all of this conditioning. And a lot of it we don't want to let go of. Like, a lot of
Or
it,
just can't. You just can't do it.
yeah, because it gives us a sense of safety and power. And to let go of that means to truly admit that you're vulnerable and that you are just a child. And that's like terrifying. Like, because the child's world is also full of terror.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And like very irrational terror. Like
yes,
we've replaced our irrational terrors with a very rational terror.
or
Like
rationalized
yeah,
terror.
rationalized terror. It's the same
Yeah.
feeling. But
No, totally. I totally get it.
coming from more focused and like identifiable sources.
Yeah, exactly. Like instead of just this like I always liked how in it the monster targets children because like their fears are more easily articulated but also more fantastical.
Yeah, they're
Um,
definitely more susceptible to it. That's
yeah, totally. Like I hate clowns. You can't ask the child why. They just don't like it. Like
something weird about them.
I don't know, I kind of like clowns.
I mean, the makeup's cool. The costumes are really cool.
I
And
love the frills, the ruffles.
I think my favorite thing about clowns is a clown car.
Beep beep.
And then like seven people get out of like a tiny car. I like that.
How do they do that?
I don't
Is there a
because
hole in the ground?
they're wizards. Like that's what they go.
Witchcraft.
That's what they go to clown college to learn how to do.
Bring back magic. Bring back illusionists.
True, dude. For real. Like nothing. Like
Yeah.
actually, big thing. Nothing is magic anymore.
Yeah.
And like I think that's the biggest problem with the world today is like there's very few sources of magic left in the world.
Yeah. Do you think it's like, why do you think that is?
People just believe in it less.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like more
Totally.
information, the spotlight, like magic is smoke and mirrors,
Yeah.
magic is illusion. It's good illusion.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just the illusion on behalf of the illusionist, it's also the belief in the illusion
Yeah, the
on
people,
the
the
behalf of the
audience.
audience.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be, like, invested in it. And if people are just, like, don't want to have fun, or they're, like, their standard for fun is so complicated that you can't even enjoy, like, a magic trick, then it's just, like, the magic does not exist. Like, if you don't let yourself believe it. It's because the Avengers. That's what I'm saying.
It might just be.
It might just be.
It might just be.
Just be.
I think, Walt, I know you're burning in hell right now.
No, he's cryogenically frozen.
Oh, true. Sorry. Well, you're
That's why
still
they came out with the Frozen movie, because when people Googled Disney Frozen, they didn't want it to be results of him like
frozen
being.
in the pod.
Yeah, they wanted it
Is
to
that
be.
is that legit? Is that legit why they made Frozen?
I can't confirm it with a reputable source, but I fully believe it. And because I fully believe it, it's
It's the
true.
truth. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's my truth.
I think that's everybody's truth deep down. I was about to say the same thing. If I fully believe it, then it's true.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Because it's like, how else can you fully commit yourself to belief in something if you don't believe it, like
Yourself.
sincerely to be, if you don't think of it as like, this external concept of the truth, but just being like, yes, that's it, like, that's it, that's it.
Well, yeah, man. Is there anything else you might have had on your mind these past couple days? Anything else you want to cover?
I don't know. Just like I was thinking about, I don't know. I need to read more, like everyone.
Yeah.
I need to get off of social media. Just like the same thing. I'm not really in a position where I'm like super. The vessel isn't open right now. Like I'm not really like receiving
You're not
any sort.
receiving the transmission right now?
Yeah, the
That
transmission.
the Ashtar Galactic Federation is
Yeah.
not coming through right now?
My eye is closed right now.
That's okay.
So yeah, totally. And just because I'm not trying to think of creative, I don't know. I like went through this process. I think it like last year or so, where I think I was just kind of this like maturing process. I had stopped. I had like I wasn't interested in using art as only like a vehicle for my ego anymore.
Yeah.
Because for so long, and this was something I like didn't want to admit to myself, and I feel like a lot of people don't want to admit to themselves. I was just using art to get like validation or to get attention or to get like success. I mean, I this has been something I've been doing since childhood
Mm.
because the child has a natural inclination towards certain activities. Like the child may like to draw, but the child won't understand the importance of discipline until they start receiving positive feedback from the people around them. Like you can have a child playing piano and then or you can make them practice and they'll hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they're praised by everybody being like, wow, you're so good at piano, then the kid is like, oh, like this is useful. Like that's like kind of where it starts.
Yeah.
And I had been basically living through that like up until maybe last year and probably still to an extent now. But especially mediated by Instagram, I'm just like trying to get to a place with work in which it can serve something higher than myself.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something I'm still kind of like trying to work through. Um, like Hilma Afafink style, where she just has her like gang of ladies trying to access the higher power and
Yeah.
like basically being the first modern artist
Fuck yeah.
because of that. Like, like it's very powerful channeling. Um,
Channeling is very powerful.
yeah,
And I believe channelers, for real.
I do too. I want to hear. There's this. Have you ever heard of Jay Z Knight? Okay, I'm gonna message her name to you.
Uh,
You should look her up.
I'm gonna write it down.
She's a very interesting figure. You should look up
Night
her.
spelled like Knight, or like night like the dead of night?
Knight, like the man on the horse.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, you should look up her videos. She's a very fascinating figure because she channels an ancient god known as Roth, and yeah, and her voice changes as she channels him on daytime TV shows. It's
Oh,
very.
fuck yeah.
She's awesome. She's like very interesting. She's like a true original. Um, yeah, is there anything that's been on your mind, Charlie?
Dude, I just don't know what direction I feel the world is like really. It's tight, man. Everybody's chest is really tight right now. I don't know what direction. Nobody knows what direction like the scale is going to tip. But
No.
we're like teetering back and forth all the time.
I feel like I cannot plan in any meaningful way for the future. Like,
Yeah, and maybe that's a good and bad thing.
yeah, like it's kind of freeing. So it's just like, well, I'm just not gonna worry about it because nothing can be done. Um, but it's so vastly different than how we've operated that it's very alarming and disturbing for many people.
It's pretty much uprooted the way everybody does everything.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to cling to some weird moment of normalcy about like pre-virus life, but now there's only post-virus.
Yeah, it's just like after the Roni. Like there is no before the Roni. It's only after. Yeah, because it's like, I mean, I'm really concerned about like small businesses. Like I think a third of them are always like are permanently closed now because of this. And I do feel like we're just kind of like diving headfirst into like the mega corporate technocracy. Like this is like accelerating things by about 10 years faster
Yeah,
than like previously projected. Like
but
I was hoping we'd have a little more time.
but you can already see that there's like a cognitive dissonance that's forming amongst like the general population.
Yeah,
We're already
like
like if they did accelerate it too fast, then it's like out of their own hubris type thing. Like they didn't like we weren't ready for it. The people
yeah,
themselves that are gonna live under it, they're not ready for it at all.
yeah, yeah,
they
exactly.
they didn't get prepped enough.
Yeah, they didn't like give us enough time.
We're
They
coming
use
out
us
the
as
oven half baked.
yeah, took advantage of us, man. You got too cocky.
Like
Yeah, that's why all this like stuff in Minneapolis is happening because they really thought they could just be like, oh, yeah, we're just gonna fire him, but not press any criminal charges. And it's just
yeah,
like, really, really,
stuff.
like.
It's gonna continue. Stuff like that's just gonna probably continue to happen.
I think it's gonna accelerate because there were some protests in LA yesterday as well, like against police brutality, because a man was assaulted and murdered by a police officer a few weeks ago. Um,
People are just
so
sick of it, man.
yeah, and it's just like with all this fear mongering, and I think because of this release from expectation for the future, I hope it does help mobilize people because it's just like it's now or never. Like it's like they really like think they can get away with this and we're not going to do anything. It's like this mass like anger that I hope gets like, you know,
Resolved
yeah,
or
or like
satiated. You know what I mean?
something comes
Something's
out of
gonna
it.
drop. Something is definitely gonna slip, and like there will be definitely lines in the sand drawn very soon. Is what has
Yeah.
been on my mind. If I'm being honest.
No, totally. Just because like you basically have this huge propagandized segment of like the federal service, which is the police, and it's basically like fully known or like fully obvious that they're basically just like an assassination squad for the
Yeah,
government.
they're the
And
hire they're the hired muscle.
yeah,
They're the
yeah,
muscle.
exactly. They're like the Epstein, it's the pedophile cabal that that like instead it's like white supremacist psychosis violence. Like they're just like the delivery man.
Yeah.
Like they're like the lowest rung, which is why they're all like morons and domestic abusers. Like 40%.
Yeah.
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 um,
Google cop 40%. They're donating 40% of their salary to
that's
different local
that's
charities.
it. I gotta find it. I gotta find that. And those are the ones that are reported.
Yeah.
Like that's the part. Like those are the like that this like total cult of like propaganda around the police force, and they basically only protect white supremacy and only protect property of the higher class, and like it's just like people are fucking sick of it. But like there's absolutely no sort of regulation. Like there's no sort of accountability. That they're literally just going out and murdering people. Like if
If
any other
if they
section,
feel like it.
yeah, if there was any other segment of the government or even society at large that did that so obviously and so heinously,
Yeah.
like to American citizens, because Americans don't really care about people
Oh, overseas. Yeah.
outside of America.
Yeah.
So it's just like, but to American citizens, it's like that hits very closely to like the American consciousness, and it's just like this is fucked, man. Like it cannot continue.
Yeah, like not even like the intelligence agencies or the military treat the civilians that roughly.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like, and that should tell you something. Like, it's just like they've gotten too brazen, and I think
Oh
the
yeah,
police
they left
need to do this all.
unchecked completely left
Yeah,
unchecked.
because they regulate themselves. It's like there's no external regulating force for the police,
It's
and
gonna be
this
like,
idea that we're supposed to like honor them is
yeah,
just like fuck you, like go
for
fuck
what?
yourself.
For
Yeah.
what, dude?
Yeah.
So you won't beat me up?
Oh, thank you, sir, for thank you, Mr. Policeman. Like, no.
I mean, yeah. It's kind of it's really that's gonna be the next big thing, man. It's gonna be like L.A. riots times like 3.
Yeah, something's gonna
In a
happen.
lot of different countries. Like remember that Dallas one? That Dallas like police shooting that happened a couple of years ago?
What happened?
Like some sniper like killed 3 police officers at a parade.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It happened
That's
a while ago. Is it somewhere in Texas?
That's amazing.
But like, media buried that one.
Yeah.
But they will not bury like all the different like civilians that like mass shootings that happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah,
It's
it's
like
so
to
fucked up.
prove that like cops can be vulnerable is like if the media does that, it's open season. Like
Yeah.
if these protesters like actually get to this guy who the main police officer Galvin or whatever the fuck his name is,
Oh, Chauvin.
Chauvin,
Yeah,
if
or
they actually get to him, or if
Chauvin.
something happens to him, if he gets like assassinated or like brutalized or like something like that, that's gonna be the thing that actually like
Is gonna incite
throws
something.
it off the
Yeah.
fucking
When there's like an equal hit on their side, like in that way.
and that's coming. I'm calling
Yeah.
it right now. That's coming within the next couple years.
Oh, absolutely.
Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, something is gonna. I mean, something has to happen. Like it's just, it's ridiculous. It's
So a civilian's gonna be pissed off enough and have so little to lose that they just aren't gonna give a shit.
and well, I'm also afraid of like police allies who like because they don't have any actual like
Oh
skin
yeah,
in
they'll
the
pick up like
gonna get
arms.
their hunting rifles and be
Yeah.
like, you need to respect the cops. Like that's gonna be fucked.
It's gonna
And
be
it's like,
the police plus like militia outpost versus different militia outpost.
And that's why I'm saying, like, the left would get so much more traction if they followed the actual Marxist principle of, like, the importance of arming yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
I
because
mean,
that's like the big
as it is
one.
right now, the right's gonna fucking crush the shit out of the
Yeah, because they
left.
see them as, like, pansies who don't know how to fight, who don't know how to shoot, who don't know how to, like, who are just, like, they see it as this, like, total cucked infighting thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like, no, like, and it's like, it's a laughing stock. Like, there's no actual critical
yeah. It's
analysis
kind
of
of a
whether
joke.
Antifa does anything. Like, it's, and not to say that it does or doesn't, but it's just like, there's no way to verify. And yet, except, like, seeing them on Twitter, and I'm like, what does this actually do? Like, what does this actually do? Like, for anyone.
That being
Like,
said,
how much of it is just, like, your role playing?
the United States is a very reactionary country. So anytime like any type of like far left organization begins to arm themselves, it makes the United States very very nervous. Even
It
if
makes sense. You're totally right. That's why they killed all the Black Panthers.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they knew it was going to be a big issue because they knew that ideology would spread in the country.
Oh my God. Once the left arms themselves, that's why they kill them. That's why they killed those
That's why.
Black Lives Matter protesters too.
Yeah, that's why they went to Vietnam. That's why they went to fucking Iraq. That's why they went.
Oh my. I think this is like the thing, and I'm not a violent person. Like, I'm a pacifist. I wish there was no violence whatsoever, but like we can't. Like, this is.
It's unavoidable. I
Yeah. Like,
think that it's a noble pursuit, but it is inherent in life.
yeah, because like Black Americans are getting murdered every single day. And it's like we need to meaningfully organize in a way to like protect them and like to protect all communities who are like terrorized by the police force and by white supremacy. Like, and we can't just like stand by and just like share shit on Twitter and be or like post a selfie of like Black Lives Matter.
But at the same
Like,
time, we can't be the heads of those. We can't be the heads of those movements.
exactly. Yeah.
It's not. It can't come from us. We can only support it.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
And like that's you have to make the choice if you're going to support it or not. You know what I'm saying? So like you're basically waiting for the movement to happen, and then
I think
you're gonna pick the side on which side
yeah.
you're gonna be on.
And these like movements do exist. It's just like a matter of like people organizing and getting involved. Because there's this organization called Defend Boyle Heights here in East LA, and they basically completely protected their neighborhood from gentrification because and like from like getting displaced because every gallery that comes in, basically everybody who comes into the neighborhood, it they're like the community basically like rallies around and they're like, if you're not going to be protecting our community, advocating for our community, participating in a meaningful way, like
Mm,
speaking our language, engaging in this culture, like we're kicking you out. Like we will be here protesting every day. We will not let you live here.
mm.
And it's worked. Like there are people in the neighborhood who have been threatened with illegal evictions, and the neighborhood comes around and they squat, and they don't let the landlord change the locks, and they basically are just like, we're a united coalition. This is like not happening. So it's like incredibly powerful, like when people do get organized.
True.
What's that sound?
It's Gus meowing in the background.
Hey Gus.
She's just meowing up a storm. Look at the
Are
chat.
John and
I
Zoe
can't.
home?
Yeah, they are. My computer's so bad I can't have the chat open.
Tuned in, dude. Me and Eric are in the.
Wait,
Oh,
tell
you and
John to
Eric
come
are in the
over.
chat. Hey, Beck wants to say hi.
Oh shit! Wait, one second.
Put the headphones on.
What's up?
Hi John.
How are you?
How are you?
Good, dude.
I'm good.
I've been
I
listening
like
to
your
the.
hair.
Thank you. I've been listening to the majority of this episode, to be honest. I think I've listened
Oh,
to.
ooh.
I was listening for like an hour.
Hey, shout out.
What do you think?
It
Any
was
thoughts
good.
you'd like to share with us?
I like the conversation. You know, the mix of humor
Thank you.
and serious topics is relatable to my brain
It's the
because it
only
makes
way
me
to keep
listen.
me from jumping out the window. God, it's so weird.
Yeah, I was downloading music and also listening. But yeah, I have a user question. Uh, this is a chat question.
Yeah, we're taking questions right
Yeah,
now.
here's one. I have
You're on
one.
the line. Thanks for
How was
tuning in.
that music video you did was super dope.
Oh, thank you. A fan.
How's it feel to be done with it?
Disappointing.
Oh, okay, okay. Word.
Underwhelming. It's all about the process. Yeah, we talked about this actually because, like leading up to like finishing it and like the process of doing it is very invigorating. And then it gets done, and then it's like Peggy Lee's "Is That All There Is" like plays
Mm.
in the background constantly, and it's like that. It's about the process and not like the thing that's produced, because almost like once it's done, it becomes this like stone, and it's almost like dead. I feel, at least like for me personally,
Do you
and it's
think
like because all the joys. What's that?
do you think that's based on the fact that you did it with someone else's like music and or whatever, or do you think that just like
No, I
applies to
think
all of your work?
I feel like that's kind of been like an ongoing thing with the work that I've been making.
Mm.
When because I've been trying to like move it away, or I was kind of having this crisis for a while where I would still enjoy drawing and I would still find art beautiful and meaningful, but I didn't see the point of it. I
Mm.
was like, if I draw, all I make is a pretty picture.
Sure, I
Like
was
I
yeah
have
that
some
that
lines.
part you were talking about like how you've been doing art for so long that like the purpose of it was clouded.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Yeah.
it's like, or for so long it was just done in service of like the ego.
Mm. Right. Yeah.
And then it's like you kind of, art is never like the thing in itself. It has to be like the vehicle that carries something greater.
Uh.
So I was just kind of like, I need to do something greater
Yeah.
than myself, which is why I've been doing like, music videos and stuff. Because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Super
you know
cool.
what? I don't have to worry about it. I'll
Yeah.
take, I'll take your music.
That's also
Like,
that's true. Yeah. Plus,
yeah.
I think it's sometimes good practice to interpret someone else's thing like that.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
Because you want to do honor
Yeah.
to like what you're creating. It's not just about you
Yeah.
or like
Right.
your own preoccupations. It's like you have to
It's
like,
like a scratch you get to itch. You know?
scratch, get, oh yeah, it's like
It's like that
what's
weird
going on. You
one
have to
that
like,
like you're like, oh yeah, that one's nice.
no, totally. It's definitely like an amazing like practice. Because unless you like get out of your own like mind prison, you're like, oh yeah, there's like different ideas, and or everything is just ideas, and all art is just like interpreting them,
Yeah.
like putting a
Exactly.
visual to it. So, but how
Yeah.
are you doing, John?
I'm doing all right. You know. Life is I don't know, not that different.
It's not
You
that
know.
different.
Yeah.
I never really left the house that much either way. So honestly,
Yeah.
as much as like I don't know, quarantine has sucked in ways, but like honestly, having this much free time is really good for someone like me. And so I've been pretty
Mm-hmm.
productive. So I've been making a lot of music, you know, and stuff
Yeah,
like
you
that.
have your
Yeah.
LP.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
coming out and I'm actually going on I'm going on this exact show in pursuit of on
What?
Monday. Yes, we're talking about the album on Monday.
IPO,
Yeah.
the original IPO.
So
IPO crew.
This is a
That's
free
awesome. I will
information
totally listen in.
stream for anybody.
yeah, yeah. So
Free information.
I remember when Gerard used to
Yeah.
stream.
Um,
What were you, a sophomore in college? I used to watch from when I lived in the suburbs. He was streaming League of Legends. I've been a long time follower.
Hey, I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember your league days. Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
can't do it on
Or
the
like
Mac. I had
Twilight
a
Zone.
PC at the time, so it was easier for me to do the game streaming off a PC.
Oh yeah. What happened to your PC? You don't have it anymore?
I just crapped out, dude. They fucking burn out.
Eh. R.I.P.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know. You know, New York's cool.
I'm so
Yeah, man,
sad
it's
I
cool. I
can't
like it.
visit. I'm like really pissed off. This was gonna be
Yeah.
like my New York. I was gonna come for like a month.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah, I know.
didn't happen.
Man, and then like the weather's been pretty good too. So you know, it's like almost like yeah. But what can you do? You know.
Yeah. Soon. Soon I will
Soon,
get to New
yeah.
York. I will
I
escape
mean,
to New York.
I definitely know people that like are still traveling. Like my sisters, my sister. Oh shit!
You can sit
All right, I'm the co-host right now. All right.
Oh, welcome to the show. Hi, thanks for
Hello,
joining us.
jazz hands. Uh, the
NPR style.
oh yeah, yeah, right. Like no, if it was NPR, I'd be like, "Hello, Beck. How are you?"
Hi, John.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. No, it would be, hi, John. Thanks so much for
Yeah,
having
yeah.
me on the show.
And then like cue the weird classical string music coming in, very like Paul Thomas Anderson esque kind
Oh,
of stuff.
totally.
And then like
Modernist.
yeah, and then you get some yeah.
Some like rustling water
Yeah.
sounds to get us
Oh
in
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. The
Sonic
sensory.
mood. Yeah, so it's like getting
But
like tingles just thinking about it.
ooh,
Wow, good beat.
podcast energy right now. Um but yeah, well I don't know. What's California like? I'm not really tuned in.
In general or in choir?
Well, you know what? What's the energy, collective energy right now in California?
It's okay. It's kind of weird. I mean, I think a lot of people are really mad that they can't like go out and take photo shoots by the beach, but now there's more photo shoots in face masks. So that's
Okay.
just how it will be. People have been pretty compliant with like the shelter in place and like wearing the face
Yeah, you were
masks.
saying
I'd
that
say
earlier, yeah.
probably yeah, so and that's good. I mean, to the point where it's like alarming and weird when I see people not wearing face masks,
I'm
which
jealous.
kind of like brings to the point how like yeah, because then I hear like people we
Dude,
were talking
people only
like people in
wear
Alabama
them
like one
here.
at a time.
Oh yeah, one at a time. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. It's like lagging, so I'm like responding
No,
in
you
the
go.
lag. But no, people here straight up only are wearing them to like not get socially shamed because they don't wear them.
Oh
They don't wear them, dude.
my god.
Because this is how they wear them. They put them like either under the nose or or
Oh my.
if they're walking around like they put them just under the chin. Like
They
it
put it under their mouth and I'm like,
and
so you're gonna pull it up if someone's glaring at you? Is
and I
that
feel
it?
yeah, right? And like I feel like every day or every week it's been more of a percentage, like by like 5% of people I've seen. So like as of right now, I would say like 50% of people wear masks.
Ooh, okay. That's much less generous than Gerard's estimate. He
Yeah.
said 3 out of 4.
I
You think
I
it's like 50?
I bike around and stuff, like around just
Okay.
like get out of the house and like there's people that just aren't wearing them too.
Yeah. Yeah, like
And
I feel like I don't want to focus my energy on it be on like the fault of the individual, but of course I will. Of
right.
course
No,
like I
yeah,
am. That's what
totally.
like I don't want to, but I am. And then
Same,
I
dude.
just
I
like
do the same
I don't
thing.
know. And then like my like mean brain is like just seeing some like California dumbass just like
Yeah.
hanging out with their poorly trained dog, like not wearing like a face mask, and I'm
But
like, do you just like not give a shit?
I think that's
Like,
literally it. It's like or it's like they're so far removed from the idea that this could happen to them that
mhm.
they are like subconsciously or maybe like half and half conscious and subconsciously taking this risk, this invisible risks they think is invisible, but they will see if they get sick, like.
Yeah, could happen to you.
But
I,
I think this stuff is just like really proven like the class disparity is very large, and who is getting sick and who is surviving is
yeah,
definitely at that level of like, oh, this is kind of obvious.
yeah, or who can even get tested?
Right.
I
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah, totally.
that's like insane. And also, like, I hate that the when I mentioned before about not wanting to focus on the fault of the individual is also because most of the people who are getting and spreading the virus can't like don't have a choice. Like they
Right.
work in a meat
Right.
packing plant,
Right.
like they work in like a Amazon warehouse.
Mm.
Like there are no protections for them whatsoever, and that's how it's spreading. And they bring it home to their families.
Right.
And it's like, and there's nothing in place to like protect them. I mean, if you're sick, they're basically just like stay home. Like
Yeah,
what
which
with
is
my
like
6 family members and
right.
2 elderly people.
uh
Yeah, and I also think I've been underestimating also how many people are like full on like conspiracy
oh yeah, I know.
like where they're say I forget what the phrase it is, but they basically say it's like that the virus was like artificially created, which is neither
Oh
here nor
right,
there.
right,
I
right.
won't comment on that.
Yeah.
But, and the
bioweapon
bioweapon.
to
Yeah,
tilt the
totally.
economy and all this stuff. And
2030, like
yeah, yeah, I've read that one. You know, there are some really crazy conspiracies about this stuff. Like,
and then like people think because it's like if they believe that or they think it's all like or even the virus isn't real at all
mhm,
and they're like, oh, this is it's like made up by the government and then they
right.
see that as a reason to wear the mask. Like we were looking at apartments
5G.
the other day and 5G. Oh my god. Like I was talking to one of my neighbors and she's like her third eye is open.
Oh,
Like
okay, I
she
love
is like
that.
yeah, she was like talking about all these conspiracy theories and like the pedophile cabal that runs the world. And I was like, I agree. And then she was talking about 5G. And I was like,
The
whoa,
powers
what?
that
And she's like,
be.
yeah, the powers that be. Like
Yeah.
those in charge. And they're like sick, murderous, thirst for children's blood. Like,
Right? Yeah, for real. You know, while I'm still on as the co-host before he returns, because I think he's going to return soon. What music have we been tuned into in the world of Beck?
Oh,
Let's
what
talk
have we
some
been listening
music.
to? Let me take a look. We'll do a little jam session here. DJ Beck,
Yeah, right. No,
welcome
I'm
to
down.
my
That's actually a good that's a good name.
DJ Beck.
Yeah. I think honestly, I really like when DJs just use their first name. Like, I think it's if it's very much your kind of own like vibe and stuff, like it always works. It never falters.
What are some examples of that? I guess
Uh,
I'm not.
there's a person that's just named Molly, and she's a DJ.
Oh,
And then there's
yeah, DJ
no,
Ma. Well,
yeah.
that's like, of course.
Well, but yeah, yeah, well, yeah, but there's also a guy just called DJ Dustin.
DJ Justin, that's
Yeah, and
good.
he's really
Like
good.
DJ
Uh,
Donkey Doug.
what
Hi,
else?
Gerard.
There's a lot. I'm blanking right
Back to
now,
your show.
but there are DJs with that name thing. I'm blanking right now.
Uh, music wise, I've just been listening a lot to Cindy Lee's album.
Well, I don't know.
Um, oh, she's good. I'll send it to you. What's Tonight to Eternity?
Well, that's a cool
It's
title.
it's very strange. I'll send it to you both, and then let's view that album. I wish I could like. Can I play it on my desktop?
Yeah,
Is that
maybe. Yeah.
something I don't know. I don't know. I don't know Skype. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
share it with
true.
you. And then y'all should give it a listen.
Yeah.
In the
What kind
shared.
of music is it?
What's that?
What would you describe the genre?
I don't know. It's like a little bit noisy. It's kind of
Okay.
hard to describe. Like kind of experimental, but still pretty melodic. It's
Oh, okay.
nice.
I
It's
like
pretty.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So here, let me send.
I've been going back into like Harold Budd stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Harold Budd and like Robin Guthrie's record was I like I listened to it so many years ago, and back when I was listening to a lot more ambient music, and
Yeah.
I think I have a bigger appreciation now for guitar in ambient music than I did previously. I
Yeah.
think I have a bigger appreciation for guitar in general as an instrument. So like going back with Robin Guthrie because he's the guitarist in Cocteau Twins with Harold
Hmm.
Budd. I think like
Oh.
the way they mix, you can like piece together the Cocteau Twins. You're like, yeah, I get that part, but then the Harold Budd, you're like, oh, but that's super nice, you know. And
Oh.
I think
Oh, that's really cool.
it kind of teeters on that right level of like ambient cheesiness where like the melodies are really like playing together in an interesting way, but
Uh, I
not
love that. I love a
necessarily
jam.
like yeah
I'm
not
ashamed.
it's kind of like really good butter, you know. You're like it's not necessarily great for you in any sense of the word, but you know, like it's fucking delicious and
It just
it's
feels
never gonna let you
good.
down, never gonna let you down.
Oh, another a quick Beck recommendation for the of just like music that just feels real good and just
Okay,
like
yeah,
smooths over you like a fine, slightly salted butter is Quincy Jones's "The Dude," or
yeah.
no, the
Okay,
man, no, the dude, the
I've
dude,
never heard
Quincy
that.
Jones, the
Hell
dude.
yeah, I like Quincy
Listen to it.
Jones.
It's just it's amazing, amazing dance music. Like
You know that's
there's
up my alley,
it's
so
great. Just like
hell yeah.
give it a little listen.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
awesome.
so yeah, no, that sounds. I mean, I haven't listened to him in quite a while. I should. I've been getting back into funk music, so like,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
I'm trying to. Oh, and also I got into Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
great.
really down with
No
that.
shame. Like,
And then
they're,
like in like end of January-ish, I became a Deadhead, so I also listen to Grateful Dead like every day.
everyone I know is turning into a deadhead. I didn't know it was
It's
such
pretty
a
convenient in quarantine, you know.
powerful movement. Oh, totally. Because it just like lasts for one song is like 40 minutes, and you're just like,
Yeah, well, and also
yeah.
like the Internet Archive has like over 6,000 recordings of live Dead shows, and
Oh, yeah, they do. I'm
and
sure
like
they do.
and like they're like all pretty good,
Oh,
you know.
oh, yeah. I mean,
So
that's like part of the appeal, right? I mean, I
yeah,
remember a few years ago, there was like that Dead reunion in Chicago. I think
yeah.
like 5 years
I
ago, and
actually
like
went to Dead and Company last year.
that's
Not
awesome.
not being a Deadhead, I just went with my friend. He gave me a ticket, but
Nice.
now you know, almost a year later, a year and a half or a half a year later, I'm like, aha.
I understand now. Like all the pieces start fitting together, and
Yeah.
you're like, actually, this
It
is a
like
jam.
it goes from like bluegrass to like psychedelic rock to like a mix of the two. You know, I like how they go all over the place. It is definitely something that is hard to explain, I guess. But
It's just
like,
like
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like very delicious. I don't know.
Yes.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if there's just like pure, good psychedelic rock. It's like, what else do you need?
Right.
Like I
No.
was kind of like
Literally, that's what I'm.
in
That's
that
what
mood
I'm
for a
fucking
while.
saying. All right. Well.
Thanks for tuning in,
Yeah. Yeah. Beck.
Thanks for tuning in, John,
Yes. This
to
has
our
been.
show.
This has been John Lundquist on This American Life. Thank you, Bec Hac, for talking to me. It was great talking to you. I wish you. I'll see you on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I will tune into your special next week with
Okay.
Gerard.
All right. I'm gonna go eat
John,
some food. Bye bye.
jazz hands.
And for the two viewers that are watching the stream live, if you enjoyed that, that is a preview of what the Monday show is going to be like.
I'll be there.
Cool. Um, but yeah, I think circling all the way back to the front, everybody, you know, has to find a way to work with their ego, but also separate from it at the same time. Because
Yeah,
if you lose it completely, then you're nothing, literally.
yeah. The ego is very powerful. Like I mean, we build it up and we give it so much because it's like able to accomplish a lot, and it like collaborates with the shadow, and it's like those are like very powerful forces.
Yes.
And I think it's just about understanding it as something within yourself, not something outside of yourself or external from yourself. Like a lot of people try to externalize the ego or externalize the shadow. Um, and to see it that way almost like gives it more power because it makes you ignorant to its processes within you.
Yeah.
Um, but then also people like they don't know how to collaborate with it, or
Yeah.
they're able to recognize it.
It's difficult.
Yeah, and it's like to understand, and it also comes back to shame, like to understand yourself without the shame of being weak or the shame of being bad or of being wrong. Because when you're able to when you're confronted with the ego and how it harms you and how it harms others, then you're able to be like, oh, that's a chance for you to like look at it, be like, hey, here we are.
Yeah.
Here I am. This is me. Like, is this the kind of person I want to be? Where did this come from? How can I adapt to this? Like part of myself.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
I mean, very well articulated. I think a lot of people could probably agree with what you're saying. I know I do.
Our two viewers.
Exactly. Maybe, you know, in the future more. Look back on the archive. That's the cool thing about the digital files. Is that like even you know, a year from now, just go back and listen to like what we were talking about and like what the general consensus at the time was. Like that thing is it's gonna be completely changed in probably even just a few months.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what the world is going to look like in a year, let alone 5 years. So
Exactly.
do whatever you want. Be the fool.
Yeah, if anybody taking away three things from this episode, one, it's the most fun to play the fool in life.
Yes. Yes.
Two, when you reach the top of the mountain, you're gonna want to go back down to the bottom of it.
Yeah, there's only one way to go when you're at the top of the mountain. It's like back down.
And the only way that you can believe something is if you believe it truly yourself first.
Yeah, totally. Like if it fits in either with the predetermined worldview, because nothing is true unless you feel it in your heart, in the child's heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you so much for having me on, Gerard.
no problem. I hope it was an enjoyable experience.
No, this is awesome. Thanks for listening to me
Of course.
rant continuously for like 2 hours.
Listen, if we're talking about a talent, I think one of my talents is that, you know, I like to hear what people have to say cuz I have a lot to
Yes.
say too.
Thank you for sharing your words
Of
and
course.
your ears
Of
on this
course.
episode.
True.
And I'll be tuning in for your episode with John
On
too.
Monday,
So
yeah. Look
see
at
me in the comments.
that's
Being
going to be a
obnoxious.
heavy technical episode. We're going to be going into the roots of what is going on behind Domino, the next EP.
Oh yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I thought Domino was like a terrorist or something. I don't know why, but that was like my
We'll
first
see.
thought. I was like, like conspiracy theory.
All right, well, you have a good rest of your night. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Bye, Gerard. Thanks so much for having me.
No
See you.
problem.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Okay, viewers. What a great episode. We've had a pretty thought provoking conversation today about truth. And at the end of the day, you can only believe what you believe in. And no matter what you believe in. Oh, thank you, John. At the end of the day, let me just turn the gain up on the mic. Everybody's going to believe in what they believe in. And, you know, sometimes they believe in stupid shit, but it's true to them. Everybody have a good rest of your night, and thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye.